Journey to Truth podcast is brought to you by Omnia Radiation Balancer. Omnia Radiation Balancer is a device that protects against the microwave radiation that we're bombarded with every day from the cell phone towers, Wi-Fi routers, smart meters, all of it. Tim Sanders, who we've had on a previous podcast, has developed a solution that negates the threat to our vibrational body from these microwaves. It's a patch that you apply to any radiating device, such as a phone, laptop, like I said, smart meter, microwave, Wi-Fi routers, all of it. And it's proven to reduce DNA damage, reduce stress, headaches, anxiety. It helps improve blood circulation, immune system function, energy levels, sleep quality. There's a whole laundry list of stuff it does. For more information and to purchase one of these patches, click the link below at omniaradiationbalancer.com. We hope you're enjoying the podcast. Thanks for watching.
Boom.
Hey, you're listening to Journey to Truth podcast. Tonight we are joined by James Gilliland with myself, Tyler Koala, and Aaron Kuhn. We stopped introducing ourselves a while ago, but I realized a lot of people probably
Who are these guys?
Yeah, exactly. But James, if you don't know, which I'm sure everybody listening knows who he is, he's an experiencer, author, he's a speaker, has ECETI Ranch where he holds conferences. It's an amazing place. Everybody needs to check it out if you haven't.
Yes, everyone go to ECETI.
And we're going to start with some big news, which isn't really big, but in the Cosmic Secret, in the background on your ranch are my two lawn chairs. They made it into the movie.
Tyler's chairs are famous.
Yeah. I was like, those are my chairs.
Great.
No, but I guess we could start off by talking about that. The Cosmic Secret. It was an awesome film. And
they did a great job. They did a great
really
job on it. And when they came out and filmed, there's all kinds of ships flying in the air. It was quite interesting. I know in the films that we filmed there too, the Uncontrolled narrative and Contact Has Begun too. There's a lot of ships in the background where we were interviewing. So if you look really close, you can see them zipping by. It's quite interesting. But yeah, it was great to be in that. There's so much more to the story, and I talked to the producer, and he said that, after because they had to edit it out and just take little bits and pieces, but afterwards he says, I need to come out and do a 5-part series, with what's happening here. So I said, yeah, we could definitely fill 5-part series easily.
Well, I mean, if you're accidentally catching footage every time you record, you definitely need to. Man, so do we dare talk about the impeachment, or do we not get into politics on this one?
I don't mind. It's to me, if anybody has followed that and watched any of it all, you can just see what a charade the whole thing is. I mean, it's very simple. You can kill the whole story with 2 questions. Do you have any factual evidence, and do you have any firsthand knowledge? And the whole thing is based on assumptions and attitudes and agendas. There's no meat, there's no beef there. So in a nutshell, that's the bottom line. And people are so socially engineered and programmed, they've lost their ability to use critical thinking and watch and also sense and feel the energies of the people that are pulling this off. These guys, you look in their eyes and they are dark. They're very dark, and they're a swamp basically.
They don't even seem human hardly whenever you look at them.
Yeah. Well, a couple of them aren't. You can see there's something else in there that's inhuman. It's not. They've lost all humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And what's sad is you see we know the media, mainstream pushes all this bullshit all the time, but now even more, they're misleading the public right now with these false headlines. Like, people who aren't educated really think Trump is not president anymore.
It's just always the most emotionally charged, to get a trigger reaction. From people.
Well, I always say this whole thing is one process-oriented therapy session.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, the people that have, you know, they're afraid of their own power, and, you know, they haven't mastered their own wealth, or they have any issues towards any kind of a powerful white male. I mean, he's got the trifecta there. He's going to push everything up for people to look at, you know. But, you know, the things that you have to ask is, you know, to me, they're demanding his tax returns. And I said, so you've got a billionaire that's becoming a public servant, and you're demanding his tax returns. You should be demanding the tax returns of the public servants that have become billionaires while they're in office.
Sure.
Those are the people you should be looking at. You know, let's just reverse the story here. And again, you know, there's so much social engineering. You know, you've got CNN and all these other news things, and they're just screaming and yelling lies and assumptions and everything. And if you followed the case, you can see that everything they're saying is false. And to me, whether you like Trump or not, you know, I'm really not into politics, and I don't. I'm not a Republican nor a Democrat. But when I just follow this and watch what's going on there, you know, anybody in their right mind using critical thinking would go, "Oh my God, this is the biggest sham on the planet."
Absolutely. Yeah.
You guys are doing some construction work behind me, so that's what that weird noise is. You know.
Oh, it's all right.
Oh,
yeah. That's just you doing some inner work. We can just hear it because you're so powerful. That's all.
That's the ships. It's a very regenerate ship there that's done making that sound.
So let's take a look into 2020. As far as, like, I know you're in contact with you know, multiple beings, and I'm just curious if you have any insight on what type of disclosures that we might be looking forward to this coming up year, because I feel like it's a big year, especially with this energies going on right now. I've already felt the shift with this past full moon. People like, it's weird because people like from my past just started showing up in my life. Like, I feel like there was, like, it's showing me I still have to do some healing. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, what I found out right now with that energy that came in during the full moon. So we had the full moon, we had solar flares, and the Schumann resonance was at like 160. You know, it's usually 7.8 or something. So anyway, you put that it's like the triple hit that we just went through. And the energy is still building exponentially, and it's going all the way into past Christmas. You know, solstice is coming up on the 21st, but it's going to keep going. So that energy is bringing everything up for people. You know, all the wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experiences are coming up. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I tell people everything that's not aligned with universal law and in all the institutions is being turned upside down. So the old draconian law that everything is based on or has been based on is falling apart. And now we're moving into unity consciousness or unity or universal law. And everything that doesn't align with that is like imploding. It's falling apart. And I've been watching people implode. It's unbelievable.
Likewise.
Yeah. I know people that are very, you know, they're very narcissistic. They're tyrants, you know, they're very aggressive. And those people are just not doing well with this energy. It's bringing everything up for them. And it's not working anymore because the people they've been working with are going, no, and they're setting boundaries and they're saying, no more, I'm not doing this. And so on a global scale, everything that was aligned with enslavement or tyranny or, you know, enslaving the masses through dependency, all that whole program is imploding on itself. And so we're moving into a total reset, planetary reset on everything. There's going to be a currency reset. All the institutions are going to have to go through a reset and transformative process. You know, our families and relationships in our families and all that is coming up now. Yeah. So nothing hidden anymore. All the masks are coming down, and we're seeing people for who they really are. And that's what's happening in the political arena that we're seeing is such a blatant example of that, is that we're seeing people for who they really are, and the masks are coming down. We're seeing true agendas, and we're seeing the polarities happening where they're, you know, like all the Native American prophecies talk about, there's a separation of worlds happening, and we're right in the middle of that right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, it's even just happening within, you know, energetically, but even within the nation. So like what this whole thing has done is like created a complete division now, you know. It's like they are no longer with us anymore. Like they've separated themselves. And I mean, the government, the deep state, cabal, elites, whatever, you know, it never have been with us, but now it's just very evident.
It's becoming obvious.
Yeah.
Everything hidden is being revealed. Yeah, like you said, everything's coming to the surface, so we can heal it and clear it and cleanse it. Yeah. And we're able to heal collectively, and the whole planet is going through that.
Yeah. They're saying, what they're saying is they're saying that this, whatever you want to call it, creator, God, great spirit, some people are atheists, doesn't matter. There is a consciousness and energy of force, you know, and we live in a multidimensional universe. But it's like the source itself is present in on the earth. Yeah. And there's all these levels and all these dimensions, and they're focusing in, and the earth is expanding out at the same time in its ascension process. And we're caught in the middle, you know, and we have to let go. You know, we have to, and I was talking about it earlier, you know, they have a thing called the monkey trap. Have you seen those where they drill a hole in the coconut and they tether it down, right? And they fill it with rice. And so the monkey comes and it grabs the rice, and he won't let go of the rice. And so they come and bag it, you know, bag the monkey. And that's what everybody's doing right now. We all have our hand in that monkey trap, and some are going to let go and move on and just say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to do something else. And other people are going to hang on to it till the hunter comes. And that's what I'm seeing is that, you know, we've allowed this material world to establish our self-worth. We depend on it for our joy, our love and acceptance and approval. Others, you know, it's all external. And the people that start going internal and become sovereign with that and let go of the past and let go of this other stuff are the ones that are going to make it through. And, you know, the people that want to hang on and control and manipulate and enslave through dependency and keep playing those games outside of unity consciousness, they're going to implode, and their kingdoms are going to collapse in on themselves. And that's what all the prophets are saying, basically.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to get back to the question that we never got the answer yet about 2020. So I feel like we're going to see some secret space program disclosures, and we have the Space Force rolling out. I know the Pentagon just passed a bill like funding $738 billion to the defense agency to put towards the Space Force. So I feel, and with that has to come some type of disclosure, because
see what Trump just said too?
Something about,
try to pull it up.
About he wants to introduce different forms of energy or coming along or something like that.
Yeah, he said there will be different forms of energy coming along at last night's rally. He said that.
Yeah.
So he's like,
he already signed off on releasing a lot of the patents. You know, I'm pretty sure he's already signed off on that. And
he did that
so
shortly after he got in office, right? He like signed off on those.
Yeah. And so those are going to be coming out. Those are going to be released. And I know people that are working with the administration that have, you know, fearless energy, anti-gravity, counter-gravity, all that stuff. And that'll be coming out. And if they do finally declassify the secret space fleet, which is, they've talked about doing that as well. That's been in the news. If they declassify that, then people are going to find the real technology there, where they have, you know, med beds and regeneration beds and all just incredible technologies there, fearless energy, anti-gravity, counter-gravity, all that stuff. And also too, there's higher dimensional beings, and our off-world visitors have extreme technologies that when we get our act together, they'll be sharing that with us as well.
Yeah. I mean, you can't have a space force on rocket technology, like, you know, you can't, it's not feasible. You have to have a way to get there and back efficiently. So, I mean, obviously something's going to
Well, they found this huge, they're all talking about this big equipment up on the moon and Mars and things like that, mining equipment and everything else. And people are saying it's ours. And then one guy, I won't mention his name, is saying that the reason we're going there is to get anti-gravity technology. And I said, well, how do you think they got those machines up there?
Exactly.
Rockets, I guarantee you. And so that's a no-brainer. But this whole field is replete with planned opposition, and people need to see through that. The disclosure program, we're still dealing with, are they real? And looking at 60 years in the past to some abduction or Roswell or things like that. And they'd like to keep that going and keep the ships far away in the distance and things like that. Whereas people like us, I mean, we've had contact for like 30 years. We know which ships are who's on the ships. We know about their civilizations and their lifestyles. We've gone so far outside the box, but we're like a threat to the planned opposition and the status quo. And unfortunately, why ufology hasn't progressed is exactly because of that. Because you've got planned opposition, you've got government shills in there, you got people that are saying anti-government, they need to come clean. And in their backhand, they're getting a check, or they're dancing right along the Rockefellers and the Clintons and everybody else at Bohemian Grove and things like that.
Exactly.
Follow the track record. But you look at the people that get the pulpit and they get the most press. Unfortunately, a lot of those people are not what you think. And until we start using critical thinking and look at where the money is going and who people are associating with and their story. If there's nothing new and they've been telling the same story for 60 years, then it's probably, planned opposition. It's the whole field is designed to keep it at a certain level, and that's got to break, that is going to break here real soon.
Yeah,
absolutely. And going back to what you said about the moon, so they're claiming there's mining equipment, you said?
Yeah.
I don't know that I've heard that. Have you?
I haven't.
Yeah.
Actually, I know there's bases all over the moon and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's like the Hoagland stuff and things like that from way back. But
nice.
I mean, I know stuff's up there. I just hadn't heard that that's like what they think that they're going up there to retrieve.
Well, you read the ancient history about the moon. There was a time there wasn't a moon, and then there was two moons, and then we're back to one moon. So apparently these moons seem to be coming and going,
Yeah.
So you start, okay, well, is this really a planet, or is this hollow? Is it a terraforming planet that was brought in to help terraform the Earth? And it was, and there were two here at one time, and it's in the perfect position. You look at the math and how it maintains the tides and everything else. That's not by accident. That's by design. And the first terraformers used the moon as a jumping place, to terraform the Earth. And the Earth has been colonized several times, and people had to start over as primitives due to pole shifts and things like that. Meteor impacts, massive volcanoes going off, ice ages, all that. So we're a series of colonization programs, and the real history will tell you that. The real archaeology and geology will tell you that. And this is all written in stone in Australia, in a place called Gosford Glyphs. They have the whole history of Earth, and it talks about the different colonization programs, the genetic manipulation, how they upgraded a man that was here naturally, the Aboriginals, which are the original people. They're the Denisovian groups that were upgraded. And then they went to Africa. We have it backwards. They went to Australia first, and then they went to Africa, because the breastplate, the gold, and a lot of the gold in Egypt comes from Ballarat, comes from Australia, and the oldest gold mines are in Australia. So it actually began in Australia, and then from there it went over to Africa and Egypt, that area.
It's interesting you bring this up too, because I was going to mention that I really enjoyed your 2-part video on the true history of Earth.
It was amazing. Yeah.
And it really was. And you touch on some of the same points just now, but anybody who hasn't seen it, I don't recall. It was a couple months ago, but
yeah, it's a couple months ago. Go listen to those. They're really good.
Yeah, it's great info.
Yeah, I should make a video on that. I do have ECETI Down Under. That's a video that we made with Peter Slattery, and I have the elders there, the King of the Raven tribe, Brendan Murray, and people like that, all talking about the history and the glyphs and how the Pleiadians, they go back to the Pleiades, but there's other colonies before that, but they have stories about the Pleiadian colonies. And I tell you what's interesting is that a lot of the plant and animals and things like that were brought, you know, if you ask any archaeologist, ask them where sheep came from.
Sheep?
The sheep just appeared. They didn't evolve from anything else. They just appeared, and nobody can answer that question.
It's the same with dolphins as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, a lot of things were brought here. One of the beings I was working with from the Pleiades, her name is Plumaria. And I go, you know, that sounds really close to this flower we have here, this beautiful flower. It smells so good. And I've seen them here in Mexico and also in tropics in Hawaii. And when I smelled the flower, I just went off. I go, God, I am so attracted to this flower. I have no idea why. I was trying to figure out why. And she told me that her grandfather actually brought that here, you know, and they genetically manipulated it and created the different types of the plumeria tree. And because I said, well, why do you have a name like a flower that's already here? You're from the Pleiades. And she said, no, we brought that here. And so you really think a lot of these guys live minimum of 1,200 years, some even longer. And so you do the math, you know, in 2 or 3 generations, some live 4,000 or 5,000 years, and some have mastered eternal life too as well. So, you know, you do the math and you go, yeah, but they could have very easily brought that plant here and did a lot of genetic engineering, you know, on the planet. So there's both plant, animal, and human genetics. We're a big mix from the Star Nations. And the genome experiment will tell you that too. Is like there's so much alien DNA on this planet, even human DNA. They call it junk DNA, but it's not junk. It's just not activated.
Exactly.
That reminds me of something that Emery Smith was talking about. They were working on in the programs it's like an ancestry.com, except it would tell us like this is post-disclosure. It would be an app that you could download and it would tell you your lineage, but your extraterrestrial lineage, because we have the ability to find out. We have the technology to know just by doing DNA samples.
Yeah.
So that would be really, really awesome.
Pleiadian,
if you were able
Syrian,
to, if that app ever did manifest, that would be really, really cool. It would change everything. People like,
I tell you something really freaky. If you take your cell phone and put it in slow motion and record something, I know the iPhones can do it. Some phones can't do it. Just record yourself talking in slow motion and then play it back. It sounds exactly like a lion.
Like a lion?
You can't tell the difference between a lion and your voice. It's a mind blower.
Well, we all
go, whoa.
Interesting.
And we all originate from Lyra, correct? Or not all of us, but
well, that's from what I've heard.
Well, yeah. Well, Lyra
was
the white race. Yeah, the white race originally came from Lyra.
Yeah.
And they're very tall. Some are 30 feet tall, and they kind of screwed up. They kept polarizing their culture and going to war, and they pretty much blew their planet up, messed things up there. But they kept colonizing other places, and the ancient Lyrians, they went to the Pleiades, Hades, and the Orion system, and from there they came to Earth, Mars, and somebody call it Maldek. Somebody had different names for it, but Maldek blew up, and it's the asteroid belt right now. So
yeah.
So anyway, that's our ancient history. But there's other star nations, other beings came in from the Orion system, from the Pleiades system, from Syrian system, all the different systems. And we're just a big mix of that. And in Antarctica, now they're finding, these beings that are half human, half lion, or half cat, and all these other things there, all these experiments that were done. And races that came that were here like a long time ago before the pole shift.
Yeah. Are you in contact, or not in contact, but are you familiar with any inner Earth races or any inner Earth beings?
Oh yeah. Yeah, where we live at ECETI, there's a doorway that goes into the interior in the mountain there, Mount Adams. And we filmed the ships going in and out, and we've done a lot of remote viewing and been interacting with the beings there. And there's many levels to that. There's one level that's a spaceport, that's like an intergalactic airport or whatever. And there's another level where there's some extreme technology that's holding a frequency and it's just pumping energy out of that mountain. And you can actually film it if you have the right technology. If you have the Harold Oldfield technology, you can see the energy waves coming off the mountain. It's amazing.
Wow.
There's more energy coming off Mount Adams than the pyramids. You know, so
wow.
That's crazy. And then underneath that is a whole civilization with multiple races down there. There's some really strange characters down there, and you know, a lot of the elven beings and kind of fairy beings that we think are mythological are down there. There's beings that are etheric, yet they're hardly physical, walking around. There's 8-foot tall giants there, little Yodas walking around with robes, you know, and stuff like that.
Baby
and don't
Yoda.
mess with them. They're really powerful. I went there once. I went out of body and I showed up there, and there was this little guy in robes, and he had these 8-foot tall giants, and I was going, holy smoke, these guys are big. And I wonder who the little guy is, and he focused his energy on me, and I got an instant headache, like he was the one in charge, you know. So size doesn't really mean anything. It's all about consciousness and energy, you know, with these guys.
I mean, I've heard of there being like 3-inch tall ETs that are like not, they're fully developed and fully matured, but they're 3 inches tall. Yeah.
And they have ships. They have ships that would look like a toy, you know, to us.
Wow, that'd be amazing to see that.
Yeah.
I think they may even depict that in one of the Men in Black movies, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
Yeah, they did. You know, they also have a lot of their ships. Okay, when you go up into the higher dimensions, the particles are much smaller. So when you see a ship, a lot of times it could be 1,200 times bigger than what you're seeing. And if it lands and you walk into it, it's massive on the inside, but it may look like just a light door or something like that. So it's amazing what they can do. And we have footage of ships landing, morphing into 3 or 4 ships and coming back to one again, and then disappearing, and jets chasing them and things like that. So they can bilocate. The ships themselves can do all kinds of crazy things. And you know, we had Lockheed Skunk Works guys out there, Boeing, triple PhD Boeing engineers, and they've seen these ships, and they actually testified on the Art Bell show back in the day, and they said, these aren't ours. We have no idea who they are. We can't do that. We can't make one ship become 3 ships or do what they're doing. It's far beyond our understanding of physics and technology.
Well, Lockheed's been one of the ones behind some of the secret space programs technology, correct?
Exactly. I'm trying to remember the guy's name, the head of Lockheed. You guys might remember his name, but he actually went forward and he talked about it. He said, you know, we can take ET home. We have the technology. And yeah, we have the triangle ships, where they TR-3s and things like that. We've been flying those for a long time. But we also have ships that raise their frequency up and they become a light. They're no longer physical. And those are the like jump dimensions. We're getting into that kind of technology. The thing with that kind of technology, the problem with that technology is when you fly a ship like that, it's almost like having a near-death experience. When you come back, it's really hard to follow orders from people that are totally unconscious, you know, because
this current world that we live in.
It's kind of, you know, I've had a couple of near-death experiences and drownings and stuff.
Yeah,
so it's
there's a guy named Tolek. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah, I do.
Tolek, yeah. I remember him telling a story of I guess it's like his part of his soul family that came and picked him up. They gave him telepathic, like, hey, come to this place, and he went, and then the ship came, and he said he gave him like some kind of like a pill or something to eat, And he's like, what is this? He's like, oh, this raises your frequency so you can ride on our craft. Otherwise you'll die if you don't raise your vibration and from third density. So yeah, a lot of these crafts, like, they're not in third density. They're above that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of, I mean, we've had contact with beings all the way up to the 13th dimension. And you get to the 7th dimension, and that's a plane of bliss. And then there's a void, and then there's dimensions past that. And so those beings are more collective. You know, there's no identity, just doesn't exist there anymore. It's not important.
Yeah. Peter Slattery does a good job of describing what that's like past the multiple dimensions. He's based on one of his experiences, which I find
he's doing great work. Yeah, we're setting up a ECETI Australia, and we're going to go on tour here really soon. And so John Vivanco, I think Jordan Sather, and Peter and myself, and Ben and Rob, Edge of Wonder, those guys are going, and we're doing a tour coming up. I think it starts the 8th or something. I'll be getting there the 8th, and right after that, we're going to be touring, I think Sydney and Melbourne. I'm not sure where else, but we'll have that up on the website.
Yeah, I signed up to win those 2 free tickets. I'm still waiting for you to email.
Still waiting for his free tickets.
Yeah. I think there might have been a mistake or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, that's out of my control. I'm just showing up and speaking there. Those guys got the tickets.
I think Tyler was trying to give you a hint.
No.
He's like, hey.
I'd love to. I would love to. Just not for the conference. You know, I've seen all of you guys speak before, but I would love to go just for the experience of the land.
In Australia. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, that's more.
You know, they're all going to be doing workshops and speaking at the conference at the ranch. So, you know, we'll be doing that again coming up July 4th. So everybody's going to be, you know, in Trout Lake, Washington at the ECETI Ranch coming up soon. So you can come up and see everybody there.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
Yeah, we both were planning on that also for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Boy, Ben and Rob, when they came up, they had some experiences they could not explain, and it was life-changing for them. And
likewise, really,
same.
Yeah, Ben got to see the whole mountain open up, and he saw the other dimensions, everything, and he just went, oh my God, you know.
Yeah, I heard him telling the story.
He couldn't even talk about it for a little while. He said it was just unbelievable what's happening up there.
Yeah. We have you heard of a place called Board Camp Crystal Mine in Arkansas?
I have. I've heard of places, you know, they have so many crystal beds there and crystals, and I know of a couple places that go where you can dig crystals and stay there, and that might be one. I'm not sure exactly which one it is.
Well, this one specifically, so I went there like a month and a half ago, maybe, because I heard it's very similar stories from like what happens at ECETI. It's very similar.
Yeah.
So I went and checked it out for myself with my father, and it is. The energies are crazy. The night watch is the same sky that I was seeing at your ranch, and the Sasquatch activity out there was just off the charts.
Right.
And it's just these places are more they're more frequent than we might realize. You know.
Yeah, I think there's we're down in Mexico right now, and we're looking at some places, and I was at this place Haramara, and my brother does massage and body work there, and structural alignment, things like that, and we were there, and it's just above. It's not that high, but it's just high enough where it's out of the fog and everything. And boy, I could see the Pleiades right overhead, the Orion system, and everything else, and it's a great place to do sky watches, and it's a very high energy place. All they do is yoga and a lot of spiritual events there. And so I'm really thinking about setting up an event there, and then we're looking at different places where we can set up an ECETI Mexico. Wow. So we have JCETI Japan, we have ECETI Australia, ECETI, you know, here. We're also looking at some other places, you know, in Arizona and things like that, where we could set something up. So a lot of opportunities are popping up right now, and other countries want to do the same thing. So we're just kind of checking the people out that want to run it. And each one kind of is run by, you know, like we're not the overlords, you know, of the other ones.
Yeah.
They're autonomous, and they do, and we just say, you know, just, you know, stay within universal law and empower people and to make their own connection, their own contacts. And we just have a few guidelines, and we let them kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, and maybe post disclosure we'll have ECETI Gaia, the whole planet.
Yeah.
Well, the whole planet will be ECETI.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people that are creating their own TV things, and like Ben and Rob, you know, with their program, their God, what is their? I forget. Edge of Wonder.
Edge of Wonder TV. Yeah.
Edge of Wonder TV. Now they're really coming on strong, and they're bringing a lot of us on board. So that's going to be another major platform to get things out. There's other ones that are starting up too, and as we get our technology dialed in, we're going to do something like, could be like ECETI TV or you know, something of that nature. Our whole problem is out at the ranch, we just don't have any bandwidth, and we've done everything to try to get it, and we just it's just not available out there. But as soon as it comes available, you know, we're having problems with the local guys there. They promise, I mean, we put in all brand new lines, everything, you know, a quarter mile long, trenched it, put all everything so we could just really take off and do our thing. And problem is that it gets out to the road and they throttle it down to nothing. And so they didn't honor their agreement, you know, so there's all these little glitches, you know, that are holding things back. But
maybe
I think we're getting through it.
Maybe your friends don't want that EMF going to your land. So
yeah. Very well. You know, you can hook that up so everything's hardwired, and so you don't have all that energy as well. There's ways of doing it that, and I know 5G. I don't think we're ever going to get 5G out there, which is good. You know,
no, you don't want that.
That's great.
Well, I heard they're changing 5G now. That's Robert David Steele was talking about, that they have like a retrofit that's going to take care of that, and they're starting to really pass some legislation or something in that direction. We'll see. That's going to change the 5G program, and it wouldn't be that hard to change the frequency of that so it doesn't mess people up.
That's interesting, and that's great news, because I know so many people it's a legitimate concern for some people.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, they have technology now. You can just plug it into your computer and things like that totally eliminates it. And and so
absolutely.
And you can cover your whole house, your whole room with some of these technologies that they're coming out with. So
and I don't think a lot of it was on accident either. A lot of it is on purpose. No. Like these Apple the AirPods.
Yeah.
I just saw an article saying
they literally like fry your brain.
Yeah, people have been complaining because their ears are hurting. Well, they tested the radiation, and it's just like off the charts with these AirPods.
Yeah,
that's not by accident. I mean, you can't.
No.
Yeah.
None of this is. You know, you really look at, you know, you got the fluoride in the water, you got all the food additives, you got all the gender benders out there that are affecting people, you know, the estrogen mimickers, you know, coming off all the plastic bottles, you know, all that stuff, the vaccines, everything, all that's done by design, you know, and the GMOs, you add it all together, it's all done by design. And people say, well, why would people do that? It's hurting them too. And I said, you got to realize these aren't people, you know, that are, I said, there's so much inhumanity on the planet because there's a lot of non-human interference. And luckily that's coming to an end with the benevolent ones that are coming in, and they're putting into that whole program.
Yeah. Oh man, I just lost what I was going to say next. Oh well. So I was curious if you had, sometimes I just wanted to ask you in general about your experiences. I know a lot of them are energetic, but have you had any recent like physical contact like actual physical?
You know, I've gone through the whole spectrum. You know, we have photographs of physical ships there as well as the energy. A lot of the physical ships, I mean, some are benevolent, some aren't. And when you're in the physical, you're kind of messing. You never know what you're going to run into. And out of the physical and out of 4D into 5D on and that's when you really start having contact, and it's happening on the inner level from within, because we're multidimensional beings and we exist on a vibrational continuum. So when we understand that enlightenment, that process of going within, making your own personal connection with Creator, God, Spirit, whatever you want to call it, you expand in consciousness and awareness, and you start taking in these other dimensions, and then you have contact along the way. But there's physical contact as well. And I've had all the above. I've had, you know, I've been taken on the ships. I've seen the physical ships where they've dropped into our dimension. You know, I've gone up, I've been on 6th, 7th dimensional ships, you know, so, but you have to rise in frequency and go in the body that matches the frequency of that ship and that group to do that.
Would you mind walking us through one of these experiences? Because, you know, you say it's so like, it's just that normal, you know, everyday stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people listening are like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just curious if you would walk through, like, what happens, like, how do they initiate the contact and where does it go from there?
Well, ever since I was like 5 years old, I was having contact, and they were taking us up on the ships and things, my brother and I both. And he did a regression. I didn't do it because I remember it anyway, but he did a regression and got a lot of that information out. So a lot of people have been having these experiences. They just don't understand them. You know, they label it this or that, or, you know, it's either a religious experience and it was angel or God, or it was the devil, or, you know, depending what kind of experience they had. But it's kind of interesting. But I've had a lot of those experiences. What I found out is when I was studying with a lot of different yogis and lamas and things like that, there are techniques that you can do where you start spinning your bands and you spin your field and you raise your frequency up, and then you have these experiences. And these other beings can do that as well. They can come in and raise your frequencies and take you in your 5th dimensional, 4th dimensional, you know, 7th dimensional body, you know, up on the ship, and they'll teach you and show you things and stuff like that. Now, the trick is bringing that memory, that experience back to the physical. That's the hard part, because, you know, there's this veil that you go through and you just forget. It's like when you sleep and you have these awesome dreams and you wake up and you can't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing. So the more you meditate, the thinner those veils become, and the more you remember your experiences and your dreams and everything else. And so, you know, we have to rise the occasion. We have to do our daily practices of prayer, meditation, yoga, qigong, whatever, to help raise our frequency, so we and get those veils to thin up, so we can start remembering what's happening on all these other dimensions. Because, you know, as I said before, we're multidimensional beings existing on a vibrational continuum, and we're having, you know, you and I are sitting here talking right now. There's another part of us that's up on a ship, and there's another part of us that's in the Pleiades, there's another part of us, and it all goes back to source. And it's very confusing. The best way I can explain it, when I first started awakening, I had this Viking warrior appear in front of me, and he goes, "I'm your soul, you know, I'm your soul," and told me his name. And I go, "Great," you know. And then I had this other being come in, and he's going, I'm what you'd call your Christ self, you know, and his name's Tassamara, you know. And then so I had some other beings come and connect with me, and then finally, when I got up to the 7th dimension, the God self level, I was having a total meltdown. I was going through a total identity crisis. These guys are saying I'm you, and I didn't know who I am anymore, you know, and what is my purpose here and everything. And Kaziko came in and told me, he said, and I asked him who he was, and then Andromedans came in at the same time, and I said, "Who's Ezekiel?" And he goes, "It's the God of eternal bliss," you know, that. And I go, okay, that's great. And I said, well, what's my relationship? And she said, you're the hands and feet, you know, you're the physical part of that process of holding that, you know, bringing that consciousness and energy in. And then, and I said, well, I'm really confused because this guy's saying he's me, this guy's saying he's me. All these people are, I'm having all these flashbacks and everything. And when Gazeko came in, he said, it's all you. You know, it's all you. And I go, you know what? My whole problem is trying to hold on to an identity. You know, that's where, and the yogis say that. They said, all your problems come, all your personal problems come from thinking you're a person, you know, that you're much more than that. You know, so you get past that person and you get into the higher dimensions and it all goes away. So in my drowning experience, I went through the tunnel and went to the plane of bliss. And so I left the door open and I go back and forth quite a bit. So the universe is so vast. And what's sad is the UFO community wants to keep it nuts and bolts. They want to keep it very scary. They want to keep the abduction thing going. They want to say, yeah, we're going to build these space fleets and they're going to protect you and everything is good, you know, and they keep all these things going, but there's so much more beyond that. It's and you're not going to really understand it until you understand the spiritual component to it. And that's what they fear most. They want to squash that and keep that down.
Which, yeah. And what we really need is a collective healing.
Yeah.
We all need to heal too, because you said something that really struck me is like, we forget that we're not a person. We forget we're not human. And that's hard. Yeah. It's hard to remind yourself that when we're suffering, you know, when we're really, we're feeling the physical effects of it. There's traumas that are unhealed. That's what we need to take care of before we can get to that level, I think.
Oh, exactly. It's so important to clear out any wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experience, you know, which includes childhood trauma, any unseen negative influences that are hooking your energy, clear those off, and really get in touch with your multidimensional self, clear past lives as well. And once you start clearing these things off, your frequency starts rising up and you start connecting with these higher planes and dimensions, you know, which a lot of the scientists will say don't exist. But I think it's funny because you ask the scientists, you say, you know, you guys believe that there's at least 11 dimensions. Some of you believe there's 21. Some of you believe it's infinite. You know, whatever your belief is. I said, if there are at least 11 dimensions and they're non-physical, why are you demanding physical proof of non-physical events? And, you know, and yeah, it goes, you know, they start brain farting, you know, and like, and I go, it makes no sense. You know, logic dictates that, you know, you can't expect physical proof on non-physical events, but we do have technologies now that can see into the fourth dimension, you know, the infrared goggles, night vision goggles, and if you use an infrared spotlight and you light up the field, you can see all the orbs and all the other things happening on that level. And we have ultraviolet technology as well that can see into the fifth dimension. So if you understand the electromagnetic light spectrum, you'll understand the dimensions. Like infrared is the fourth. You know, you go into ultraviolet, that's the fifth. You know, and you get into the X-rays and gamma rays and things like that, you're going in the higher dimensions. Like gamma rays are seventh dimensional consciousness and energy that's hitting the planet. So the sun is conscious too. Like it's not just light that's hitting the planet. There's a consciousness and energy, and there's beings that actually exist on the sun that are non-physical beings. You know, they're not going to burn up because they're in light body. I actually have photographs of them. I have photographs of these beings, and it's when you look at the photograph, yeah, it's undeniable.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. And I liked just you said you had that set up on your field at the ranch, the infrared.
Yeah. I saw orbs through night vision goggles when you had the infrared spotlight on the field.
Exactly.
I saw a ton of orbs in that. Yeah.
You know, if you have an open mind, I always say you need like an open mind, loving heart, and pure intent. You're going to have amazing experiences there. And the kids just love it there. And they're like in a candy store. And they see and feel all these energies, and the animals do too. But what's nice is you can actually use the technology to show other people that these things are real, they do exist, and it opens their eyes to other things, you know, and what's happening.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, the Skywatch itself was pretty profound, I would say. But then
Yeah.
when you look through that, it's like, holy shit, this is right in front of me the whole time, and we just can't see it. It just makes me wonder, like, what's right here in this room with us that we just can't see all, you know.
Exactly. Well, I can feel the energy in your room right now, and you guys are getting hammered. There's a lot of energy coming to your room, and that's what'll make your body twitch and shake, and you'll start feeling little bliss and tingling on your crown and things like that. So just having this conversation is opening the doors for these beings to come in, and it's opening the doors for people that are watching the show as well to have their own connections.
And what's interesting is right before you came on, I was like, did you see that? Like, I saw an orb come like right.
You saw an orb right in front of me.
And I know I wasn't mistaken, but when we had Peter Maxwell Slattery on, we actually caught one on film come up through.
By me, right in the very beginning of the interview.
Yeah, so
you can't see it on YouTube, unfortunately, but on the raw footage, you can clearly see it.
Yeah, that's it.
Peter's great. Peter's like a master at capturing paranormal stuff. Yeah, I mean, he's got photographs of videos of beings, of ships, of everything. Beings. I was at his house, and these Pleiadians are appearing right in this living room, you know, and in the bedroom I was staying in too. And he has the wispy lights there. And we go out in Melbourne, we go out in his backyard, and these ships are just flying over right and left. And we were sitting there doing this kind of clearing process we were doing, and we asked them what time the ships are going to be coming in. They said they go 5:31, and so we grab our cameras, we go out there at 5:30, and 5:31 this big ship comes right over the house, you know. So we've proven redundantly that we have contact and that we're in communication with the ships, and I've done it at the ranch so many times. I'll tell people exactly when and where the ship's going to appear, and we filmed it, and that's what blows me away. We've been doing this for so long, and why we're like probably the most censored group on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, because we deliver. You know, we can deliver, and it's not about ego. It's not about being, you know, the UFO messiah and all the other stuff that's going on. You know, it's about, you know, educating people so they can have their own contact and empowering people to have their own experience.
Well, and when you deliver, that's when they censor you. We were just talking yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
A friend of ours has, or somebody I know, a friend of a friend, hosts a show on Travel Channel called Alien Highway. And if anybody's ever seen it, you know, it's not your typical show. They actually do real investigative work, and every episode they capture something and they're finding stuff. And they didn't get signed on for a second season, even though they had the
highest ratings.
Yeah. And then the executive producer got forced out of her position, and the new guys just signed something else and he mentioned that those shows don't want they don't want to give you answers. They want to keep the mystery going. So
let me give you a classic.
Ancient Aliens.
Go ahead.
Why they cut you off. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Ancient Aliens comes out to the property, and I knew they were going to do this. And I called the producer out on it. I said, look, I know what you're doing here. You're going to cut me out of the whole program. And I said, because I have the answers, and you want to keep the questions going and keep it unanswered and keep the suspense going. And, do they exist? Are they real?
Yeah.
You know? Do they come from some faraway galaxy, you know? And so I'm sitting there giving them all the answers, and I'm saying, you know, this group here, this is what their ships look like, and you know, and I'm answering everything. And then I realized, I go, you know, they're going to cut me out of this completely. And I asked the producer, and I said, you know, I'm watching how you're filming this, so obviously you're going to cut me out of it because you're filming me in the scene, and you're filming the scene without me. And I don't have any problem with that, but don't waste my time. And how about walking in a little integrity and a little honesty, and just say, hey, I got the phone call, and we're supposed to cut you out of the episode, you know? So he goes, oh no, that'll never happen. You know? So we're going to show everything, right? So now here's the kicker. We filmed everything. We filmed my interviews, everything, them interviewing me and everything. We're going to put it out and show what was censored and what was not shown.
Nice.
And,
that's awesome.
And then show them saying their little thing and then go, well, here's the answer right here. They didn't want you to know. And we're going to put all of that out and show people exactly how they operate. Because it's just getting old. I mean, it's happened so many times, and it's getting old. And you know, these guys, and that's what I'm saying. Their disclosures are going to happen with these people. That's planned opposition. They're controlling the narrative, and that's why we made that on the site. And it's free. It's called the Uncontrolled Narrative, and we brought all these people out. Billy Carson, Peter's in it. All kinds of people are in this video. Jimmy Church is in it, you know, all of them. And they've come to the ranch, they've seen the ships, they talk about their experiences on the ships. And then we explain how the narrative is being controlled. And we don't really mention names. That's coming probably. It's probably into that. But,
hey, James, we're at the 55-minute mark. Just to give you a heads up for all the listeners who are listening on As You Wish Radio. We're going to wrap it up here, but we're going to continue chatting on. You can head over to our YouTube channel or the ECETI Stargate channel, and we're going to chat for a few more minutes after we wrap this up, if you want to head over there.
All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you on the next round.
Yeah. you thought you were on Edge of Wonder for a second.
See you on the edge.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and head over to one of our other either channel. Check us out.
Journey to Truth is our channel, by the way.
Yeah, Journey.
If you don't know, Journey to Truth.
Yeah, I'm curious. So when do you plan on releasing the Ancient Alien, or maybe you should retitle Ancient Extraterrestrials?
Yeah, probably say Beyond Transdimensional or something like that, which is what they called it. And it's going to air and just show the nonsense that's going on. And it's not just them. It's like all the major ones have been usurped, you might say, and some of them are being totally reworked. I can't talk too much about it, but they're getting rid of the people that are sabotaging it, and they're either going to they're not going to go for another season, or they're going to rework everything and bring in the right people, because people are seeing through it. They're tired of it.
Yeah, totally.
100%. I'm seeing celebrities on there that, to me, I feel like I can just feel that they don't even really know what they're talking about. They're just, they think people are just going to listen to them because they're celebrities.
You mean like Tom DeLonge?
Or Megan Fox was on there. You know, they have, I forgot, I know William Shatner was on there, but they.
On Ancient Aliens?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's been a bunch.
But, and I'm not trying to discredit everybody because I don't know them personally, but I feel like they're really stretching. Or, you know,
if you find out who is behind this, who's financing it, and you find out the group that's behind this, it's always the same group. And a lot of these guys are military, or they're CFR card holders, you know, Council on Foreign Relations, things like that. They're totally Illuminati, and they're all tied in the same group. And you just track who's behind it, you know. And they get a new shiny face up there, and they said, "Oh, this is happening." And then I watched the footage, and it's like this grainy picture of this little object flying over the ocean. We have stuff less than treetop level coming in, massive ships powering up, interacting with 200 people on the ground. Undeniable footage. Do you see that? No, they won't. They sanitize every episode. And in Ancient Aliens, I think you saw one picture of my hand touching the camera, and that was it. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't censor that out, you know. So it's like, you know, people need to get educated and realize that all these other things are controlled narratives. They're not going to ever bring the disclosure out until people wake up and just say, "Hey, look, there's a lot better stuff out there. Why aren't you covering this?" You know, we've got a 33-year track record of filming incredible UFOs and knowing exactly when and where they're going to come. And getting that all on film. And we've brought out, you know, amazing people. I think it's Rob Freeman. You know, he has the weapons of mass detection. you know, he has the gear with everything on it, you know.
Yeah, he has a ton of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, the infrared imaging, the heat signatures, the everything. He's got this gear. It's like $150,000 worth of equipment. And he was filming the ranch and filming what was going on there. And he said, I have no answer for any of this. He said, there's no heat signature. There's no, these lights are moving all over the mountain. He said, you know, some are taking off and some are, you know, people are saying those are campers. And I go, well, that camper just launched into space. So you know, are there campfires? They said they're campfires and they're moving everywhere. You know, it's like, I go, come on, you guys, let's use a little common sense here. There's no heat signature. This is cold light. These things are moving all over the mountain. They're launching into space. It's no known object.
Come on.
It's
you said it was starlight too, right? You said
it's starlight. And so it's not anything of Earth, you know, so
it's not a man-made light source.
Yeah, that's the deal.
Yeah, that once again, I just lost my question. You said starlight, and I started thinking of something else.
Started thinking of stars.
Yeah, it's thinking of the stars. No, but in a perfect world, all of this stuff should be in the main headlines. You know, it should all be on the news. But you know, instead we got to hear about Greta and global warming or the climate hoax or whatever.
That's a mess.
Yeah, or even the bad stuff. Like you look at the trafficking and all the terrible stuff. It's like, why isn't this all in the news? This is way more important than the crap that they're constantly.
Oh yeah, and if you say anything about Greta, you know, you're going to have the Nazis come after you, the global warming Nazis and stuff like that. And you know, I wish you'd do a little homework, you know, because you know, if you look at the real data, the raw data on the planet, the oceans are actually cooling. The whole planet is cooling. The islands are still there. The polar bears are prolific. They're doing great. Poles are still there. According to all their fear stuff they're putting out there, you know, the beach I come down here in Mexico looks exactly the same. Nothing's changed, and they should have all been gone and underwater since 2009. So obviously there's something wrong with their statistics, and we're actually peaking at the end of an ice age, and we're going down the other side right now. So global cooling is something they should be thinking about. And you know, we're having massive crop failures due to these changes in weather. They can't even get to their crops because they've been rained out. They can't get their equipment through there. There's snow on the ground already in certain places. So we should start thinking about global cooling and start moving crops further south and things like that if we are going to take care of business. But you know, according to the raw data, and the real scientists are all coming forward and saying, hey, this is a hoax, and you know, look up carbon credits, find out where they go, find out where the money goes from the carbon credits. And also they're going to have total control over all industry on the planet, the same people that the money's going to. So it's the same group. It's an Illuminati group, you know, that's doing all this. And when I look at these people like that and everything else, you know, it's sad because I think that it's child abuse, what's happening with her. They're using her to push their agenda, which is a false agenda. And if you say anything about it, then how dare you? You know, it's
you're
like
attacking a child. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I go, well, you guys are abusing a child by having her push this misinformed agenda. You know, and they're all wearing Antifa shirts. What the heck is with that? You know, Antifa, you know, it's an anti-fascist, anti-Nazi group funded by a Nazi.
Exactly.
And they're the most fascist people on the planet. So
exactly.
Yeah. I just go, come on, you guys. You
most
know,
hypocritical.
again, little critical thinking. You know, we need a little critical thinking. You know. So
did I not just see the Sahara Desert? It snowed there.
Yeah.
Like for the first time, and it
snowed in the Sahara Desert.
I mean, if that's not a sign, you know, if that's not a telltale sign. But like you said,
yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand about that whole thing. I do understand it. And that's the whole thing. It's like, you just got to throw your TV set out the window. Forget about CNN and all the lamestream media. You're not going to hear the truth there. And start doing your own research. And then you're going to find out more of the truth, because the whole narrative is controlled, you know, and on everything. and you're just not going to get to the truth until you actually do your own research and talk to the real scientists and not the bought and paid for scientists about what's really going on.
I like how they're trying to tie Leonardo DiCaprio into starting the fires in the Amazon.
Yeah.
I actually think that's fantastic, because now they're pointing fingers, they're calling these people out now. It's whether or not he did it, it's making people question the authenticity of the story, what really happened and why it happened,
Exactly. And it's kind of weird. I've talked to some of these people, and I've actually done counseling for a lot of people like that. They're pushing these agendas, and I just go, like, what the heck? It's like, why are you still tied into this nonsense? You know better. But I've just seen this over and over again. It's that whole thing about Hollywood. They're pushing their narrative, and they're all tied in together. And it gets, when you follow the top of any institution, whether it be the political institutions, the religious institutions, all of them, as you go up the power and wealth structure, it gets pretty dark, and really dark, beyond people's imagination. People couldn't handle the truth if you told them the whole truth about what's happening there. And so you can't expect anything. And that's why the people, the white hats and all the other people that are exposing this, that are draining the swamp, are getting so much heat from all these institutions. And now, the other day, these archbishops in the Catholic Church from Chile all got busted for being pedophiles, and they got taken out. And I don't know how many thousands of people have been busted, within the religious organizations for being pedophile. That's coming out. It's rampant, and that's coming out. And the political leadership as well, they're going to get busted for, child trafficking, drug trafficking, and all this other stuff, because, you don't become a public servant and go in there broke and come out, a billionaire, without being involved in some pretty nefarious activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the Illuminati cabal, whatever you want to call them, they've infiltrated literally every institution on the planet, and infiltrated them all thoroughly, unfortunately, and that's why they're able to get away with everything with so little resistance, and keep it so hidden, because they got the judges, they got the school system, they got the media, religion, it's like science, and they're all squashing any truth that tries to get people come out and say, hey, look at this, and it's something that is going to threaten their system, their narrative. They always watch it, or people commit suicide, or
here's what they didn't factor in. What they didn't factor in is that there's a bigger institution than their institutions, and whatever name you want to give it, creator, God, great spirit, it's the whole earth is ascending, and the other beings are pressing in, and their programs and all their little institutions, all those games are over. Basically, they're all going to be exposed and implode, and it's part of the process, and they didn't factor that in. And then all the light workers and the ground crew, or the white hats, whatever you want to call them here, they're all being activated. And I heard this one guy say, I love what he said. He said, the Creator's given its best for these times. And those are the people that incarnated to be the light workers and the white hats and things like that. And they're all being activated right now. And they're in every walk of life. They're all throughout all these institutions. And the bottom line is souls are being activated, and the bottom line is they're screwed. There's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
This is so far beyond anything they can control, and no man can stop it, or woman. There's nothing that can stop this process.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that it's people like wonder why they're not hearing about it. Some of the people who aren't involved in this community and this movement. But the thing is, the writing is on the wall. It's there. We're just too busy looking at our phones, which is a big problem.
Yeah. And I was wondering, I mean, a few years back, I'm like, the cabal has to know they're done. Like they have to, there's no way they can possibly not know that. But the thing is, these people, it's like, they can't give up. It's just like, their nature. They're going to keep lying, keep fighting to the bitter end until power is wrenched from their hands. You know, it's like,
you can watch, you know, to me, it's so simple. You really watch the people pushing socialism, you know, and if you look at the history of Earth, like every time we've gone into a socialistic program and we've tried to totally control the power and the wealth and give it to the hands of a few, which is what socialism is. You know, you want to control the power and the wealth. Yeah. Every time we've done that, just a few have the power and the wealth, and it ends up with one having all the power and the wealth, and then they become a dictator, and then you have the genocide, you know, and they take away your guns. It used to be your knives, your swords, or whatever. They would take those away, and next thing you know, you're targeted, because when the money runs out, they have to take it from the people, and they're not going to take it from the powerful people. They're going to take it from the masses, you know, and then they revolt, and they've got nothing to revolt with. But I mean, that's the common process that it's happened over and over again. And a lot of these people are being financed by dictators, by the elite, the global elite. So follow their money, follow their campaign donations and things like that. And that's big right now. There's going to be a massive scandal coming out really quick, where all of this foreign money came in to all of these people that are screaming for socialism and things like that. Those contributions are going to come out, and it's illegal, you know, and so they're going to get busted there. So I think there's two things that are going to take them out. A lot of them are very tied into some very dark, nefarious things. You know, they're like Luciferian or satanic, or they're into the child trafficking and things like that, or drug trafficking. That's going to take them out. And then also their contributions, their greed is going to take them out as well, because they don't care where they got the money. You know, and I'll tell you one thing, I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to lose my head, but you know, the people that are screaming against the wall, the border wall and things like this, people screaming the loudest have gotten contributions from people that are involved in extreme drug trafficking and child trafficking, things like that. So these people are not screaming for unity and everybody working together and no borders. Even the No Border Society, that's funded by Soros and another same guy, you know, he was a Nazi sympathizer, worked for the Nazis and proud of it. So these are the type of people that are funding all these organizations. You know, they fund Black Lives Matters, they fund Antifa, they fund Open Borders, they fund a lot of these socialist politicians and everything. It's just track the money back, and you'll find the same characters involved in that, and they're underlings, you know.
And with this with the whole border thing, people don't realize is, you know, that it's not just stopping the drugs and the trafficking, but the problem is that there wouldn't be any unless there are clients in the United States. Who are those? Who are the clients? Exactly. Who are the clients?
Yeah.
And the clients are the ones who don't want the wall built. You know,
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, some of these politicians recently, and all of a sudden it got covered up, or found out with whole shipfuls of cocaine, and they have warehouses with heroin and cocaine in them and things like that. And they've been busted, but nobody's saying anything yet. But I think that's going to come out in the indictments soon, you know. But exactly. And what really gets me is I see people waving their posters and their flags, these very same people, and they're totally socially engineered, and they have no idea who they're supporting and who they're trying to put in office, and they're going after the very people trying to free them. It's totally opposite. It's backwards right now. So I always tell people, if you want to know what's really going on the planet, just take the mainstream news, reverse it, and multiply it tenfold.
Exactly.
And then you'll have a good idea of, and the one making the loudest accusations are the ones most responsible for what they're accusing others of, you know, and then you'll have a better picture of what's happening.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. That's so true.
Yeah, they don't even touch on any issues on the news like anymore anyway. Yeah, if you turn it on, it might be something local, some sports thing, and then like how to bake this holiday cookie or something, and and that's your news. You know, the people are tuning in to crap.
It's like either that or it's just like fear based. Yeah,
somebody was shot.
Yeah,
murder.
It's be afraid.
Or they feign outrage. They act like they're all emotionally charged, and they try to hook you through your reactionary mind and emotional body, and they feign this outrage, like, I can't believe, you know, this is, you know, our Constitution is over with, and they're the ones killing the Constitution, you know. And you watch these guys just lying and deceiving, and they're pathological liars. They're paid liars, you know, and you know the truth, and you know you can see their energies if you're enlightened, and your BS meter's working, and you go, wow, this guy is just spewing out lies and deceptions, and his energy is so bad, you know. And if people were awake, they'd be changing the channel. They wouldn't be supporting this kind of nonsense. And that's the sad thing, is I see people, and a lot of them are good people. They've just been socially engineered, and they've been programmed, and they're going against the very people trying to free them. You know, it's the opposite.
Yeah, and that's the thing of like this awakening and this ascension that's occurring right now. It's like you said, it's pushing everything up to the surface, and it's the people that are the most socially engineered and the most have their egos so solidified into this system like that are having the hardest time, because it's like it's
like a personal attack.
And it's like they're going crazy. It's because the energy and because of things happening are all like triggering that, and it's like they're either going to go crazy or they're going to have to finally deal with it at some point.
Their icons are falling, and most of their icons are going to be indicted. They're falling, and everything is going to come out, and they're going to see them for who they are and what they've done. And they're just their world is gonna crumble.
Exactly. And they're gonna have a breakdown, and their whole identity is gonna crumble, and they're gonna have to either rebuild from there, or they're gonna just like be in a really bad state.
That just gave me a great idea for the name of a show or something. The Icons Are Falling.
Exactly.
That'd be a good one.
They are. I mean, they're shaking in their boots right now because they know it's coming. And you know, the IG just kind of spelled out a bunch of things. The Durham report, when that comes out, that's got teeth in it. And between Bill Barr, you know, they say the Barr bill is coming, and somebody's going to have to pay it. And so that is coming. So, you know, they can't get away from the truth, and it's all documented. And you don't get an indictment unless you've got them nailed. I mean, if you have so much evidence, you don't get an indictment. And and so, you know, so that's basically, you know, when that comes out, it's the light side doing things. And also find out too that all these Pfizer reports and everything else were all doctored, engineered, and no foundation whatsoever. So that whole program is going to be taken out. And it's really easy to understand this. All of that's not frequency specific to the ascension process and where the earth is going. And I think it's sad too, is all these people that are supposed to be, you know, focused on love and joy and peace and unity and everything else are becoming the most aggressive, you know. And you know, before in the old days, you know, like the Democrats were for the people, and they're for, you know, the worker and for everything else. And before that, it was even worse though. But before that, you know, Kennedy was really doing some good work. But before that, you know, the KKK were Democrats. They were the Democratic Party. You know, that Democrats voted against equal rights. They voted against the women's right to vote and everything else. And now they're like the champions of all that, when obviously they're not. You know, they say one thing and do the opposite.
Yeah, they want you. They want you to
getting busted for that.
They want you to think they're all of those things, but then when you look at what they're actually doing, they're doing the opposite, like you said.
Exactly.
It's just the front, yeah.
And so it's so, but all that's going to be revealed, because that's what this consciousness energy is. It's an acceleration of karma. It's an acceleration of truth. You know, all of this stuff is going to surface, and people are going to see things for what they are. And there are a lot of people that are just going to have a full-blown meltdown when they find out that everything they've been told was a lie, and they put all their support and eggs in one basket, and they just found out that basket has a lot of holes and it's very dark, at the bottom, and it doesn't hold truth or has no merit whatsoever. So that's coming. That's going to be part of it. But, the polarities are happening, the wheat's being separated from the chaff. And when they say the meek shall inherit the earth, what they're really saying, meek means the illuminated ones, the wise one. It doesn't mean the weak ones. It's different. The old saying is it means the wise ones. And I kind of see it's almost like the Darwin Awards, basically. I think a lot of people kind of are take themselves out because they were very low consciousness. They fell for all the nonsense in the programs. They didn't rise to the occasion. They didn't develop critical thinking. They weren't paying attention. And so they got their 5G and they ate their GMOs and they drank their water full of estrogen mimickers, and they
vaccines.
And they got their vaccines and everything else. And it's like those are the ones that may not make it through these times because they refuse to listen. They refuse to wake up.
It's almost like the more in touch you are with your own soul, the more clearly you can see the fakeness of the world and the craziness for what it is. And the less you are, the more you get caught up in all that. And I've been noticing that a lot over the last few years. I'm like, man, I can just be around people now, and I'm just being around them without saying a word. I can just sense,
immediately.
I can just feel where people are at. But then especially being around them for any amount of time, I'm like, man, you can just see they're at this very unconscious level, and they're so caught up in the 3D matrix.
Absolutely.
However you want to say it.
Well, I found out there's a couple keys right now. One is the only reason anybody has any power over is because you want something from them.
Exactly.
You don't want their love, acceptance, their approval, or somehow you're financially tied to these people. And that's coming to an end, and so people are going to become.
Cliffhanger.
It just ends right there.
we lost you again, James. We lost you for a second.
You froze.
All right, guys. Well, apparently we lost James. We've tried to get him back, but we're not having any luck. Somebody didn't like what he was saying, apparently, and they cut him off. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you for listening. Please consider subscribing, like our channel. We're on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, BitChute now. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of the above. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We're sorry for the abrupt ending, but sometimes we can't control these technical difficulties. So thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you next time. Good night.
Night.